Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of
GETL.
My name is Hans
I'm Edward.
and we are your hosts for now and forevermore.
Or until some guy with a I want to say handkerchief, but a towel comes and saves the day,
Ah, yes, now with the towel in mind, we will speak about that in just a second. Welcome to episode 42.
Yeah.
To one of the internet's favorite podcasts about gaming, entertainment, technology, and lifestyle, all wrapped up in a wonderful
Futuristic space station which teleports the guy with the handkerchief. The towel.
with the towel.
I keep thinking handkerchief because I've got two with me now. So
Oh, it's fine. If you're wondering why we keep saying towel, it's because this is episode 42. And for those of you who know of Douglas Adams and his book, Life, the Universe, and Everything, the answer to life's eternal question is 42, as in what does life even mean? And, throughout the story, the towel is one of the... I don't know, it's one of the most mythical objects or something, something to that effect.
we still don't really know, actually, to be fair.
Well, anyway, here we are, everybody. I can't believe it's episode 42. It's a crazy, crazy feeling. Both Edward and I are filled with a little bit of sadness because this is our final episode for season 1 of GETL. Yes, that's right. We're going to be labeling each year as a separate season. So this is technically season 1 episode 42, and we're going to hopefully strive for at least 42 episodes a year as well, out of the possible 52, right?
56.
56.
I don't know. I don't even know.
I think it is no, it's 52. I'm right.
Okay, well, there you go.
Which means we only get 10 weeks of leisure, I suppose. Anyway, so typically in one of our episodes we have news, reviews, previews, and then we launch into quite a bit of content. For our final episode of the year, it's going to be a little bit different. We will have some reviews, no real previews for obvious reasons, despite the fact that we consistently have things in the background and in the pipeline, which some of you were very eagle-eyed to spot it in the YouTube video last week. And if you're watching it this week, we're going to now speak about what y'all saw and pointed out. So that's quite cool. And so with this in mind, let's go straight into reviews. Yeah. So as you know, the last month, for those of you who have been tuning in regularly, it's been challenging, to say the least. We've produced and published a lot of content. It doesn't stop, and we're very grateful for the work. So for this week, we just have some TV shows thrown in with video games, as always. And the first thing that we're going to be speaking about is Helstrom, which is actually a Marvel TV series that is exclusive to Hulu. And it's not great.
Of course it isn't. Of course.
I mean, generally speaking, Marvel productions are quite good. And a lot of the TV series, although there haven't really been that many, unless of course you look at the Netflix ones, have been fairly decent. With some of the most incredible ones like Legion, for example, being exclusive to a completely different network, and most people haven't even seen it, which is a travesty in my opinion, because it's a very, very good show. Well, Helstrom, as I mentioned before, is exclusive to Hulu, and from the little bit that I can gather, because they really don't flesh out the characters very well, it's basically about a show about a brother and sister who are born to a demon. And the show then revolves around how this demon has possessed... There is another demon that possessed their mother, which is not the father. And it has then imbued these two kids with abilities. Most notably in the sense of being able to exorcise demons from the earth realm. Now, it sounds like an interesting premise, and truth be
does.
told, it does start off very well. So the first 2 episodes are serial in nature, meaning, watch the first one and then follows on in the second one. Unfortunately, thereafter, it devolves into a monster of the week kind of thing, where the brother-sister duo, which really don't have a very good relationship, then go on to perform exorcisms. Look, there is a overarching story, but it's not great. They leave a lot of unanswered questions as to like what's going on, how exactly did they come about, and things are never really fleshed out. And as I have mentioned numerous times, I'm not a fan of procedural shows. I mean, what I mean by that is I would prefer to have a show that I can get invested in, where every episode is a continuation of the former one, and I have to watch and pay attention to know what's going on. Now, that doesn't mean I don't enjoy procedurals. I do. Like, for example, I thoroughly enjoy the Criminal series. I've watched the German one, French one, English one, all of them. And what's great about that one is that there's a reason why each episode is self-contained. Not like this, where there's this overarching mythology that just doesn't get explored, is what I'm trying to get at. Like, I could enjoy an episode of CSI because the whole thing is contained within one thing. Sometimes there's an overarching element, but it's so weak you don't really care about it. Now, with Helstrom, it starts off as a serial and then becomes a procedural. So they lure you in with the possibility of things to come that they just never get to.
That's
so
weird.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Of course, if you do like procedurals and you do enjoy shows with a bit of a not necessarily mystic edge, but that deals like a supernatural kind of thing, you might enjoy it. It's not as lighthearted as Supernatural. But overall, I've got to say, quality-wise, it's decent. I'm just disappointed in how the whole thing plays out. There's no payoff, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. The thing is, when you say it's about siblings born from a demon, I immediately think Nightcrawler, because he is the demon baby of the X-Men, and I would have loved a show about him.
So Nightcrawler is the son of Azazel and Mystique.
Yes.
Which, as far as I understand, are both mutants. I don't know. No, or
yes.
Azazel is a demon. Azazel's a demon.
He's a demon, but technically in the X-Men world, a mutant.
A mutant. Okay. So, to be perfectly honest with you, I know very little about Helstrom. I know very little about the lore, or even where it fits into the Marvel universe. I'm just going on by watching this show, and they don't really link it up very well, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
It really comes across as they have more magic abilities than they actually have mutant abilities. It's weird. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's one of the best things I've seen. I'd rather say, like, if you really have nothing else to do and you're bored this holiday season, check it out. maybe you'll enjoy it. I don't know.
Maybe I would. Yeah.
Rather what I found myself doing was running from the show, which leads me to the next review.
Gosh.
Also a Hulu movie. Courtesy of Lionsgate, so Hulu's just distributing it. It is called Run, and it is very much a thriller. Now, I generally thoroughly enjoy thrillers. I'm not a big fan of horrors, but I do enjoy a good thriller, and I still maintain that Basic Instinct is one of the best thrillers in not even in recent memory, just from what I can remember overall. Like I'm only ended up watching it very much later as an adult, and it was really incredible from a story perspective, despite the whole flashing scene that really gave the movie such a bad rap. It's really just a good thriller. Now, in that sense, Run is incredibly predictable. As the movie begins, you know exactly what's going to happen. It will, at least, let me speak from my experience. I knew exactly what was going to happen. And I'm not going to say that ruined the movie for me, but when it's so obvious what the main premise is about, it then changes from a what is actually happening to a oh, I already know what's happening. Let's see how it unfolds.
Yeah.
And, I personally prefer to have more mystery to a situation, where you can still like wonder what's going on while there's the thriller element. Now, that's not to say that Run is not a good movie. It is a good movie. It has Sarah Paulson in it for a start. She's actually the mom in the film. And, it's all about a mother and a mother's love, and how this lady, or this mom, predictably, and I hope that's not going to be a spoiler, but honestly, it's really quite obvious from the get-go how she gets mentally impacted with what happens to her child at birth. And because of that, she sort of becomes mentally unstable, and then goes through the motions of actually poisoning her child to keep her child at home. So the story then revolves around Kira Allen, who is the daughter of Sarah Paulson in the movie, and how Sarah, this is not her name in the film, this is the actress's name, and how she discovers what her mother's doing, and how she tries to get out of the situation. Now, it might sound a bit like how, and it's basically because the film starts off with like a disclaimer of what certain ailments are. So it talks about atrial fibrillation, it talks about diabetes, and so on and so forth. And then you realize that as the film begins, this is what this child is afflicted with. She has all of these ailments. And then, of course, as I mentioned, it's very early on in the very beginning, and they make it quite obvious that she's not really suffering from any of this stuff. The mother has done something. And then, of course, that's how it plays out. From a thriller perspective, sure, I guess it can keep you on the edge of your seat because, you're rooting for this girl to get out of the situation. But I just kind of felt that it was a bit too on the nose. It was too on the nose knowing that the mother was at fault.
Yeah. The thing is, isn't this based off a true story or something? Because I remember
it's entirely fictional.
Okay, because I remember a movie about same situation where the mother kept making all these stories up about the daughter, and that was based on a true story. So I thought this was it, maybe.
Look, it's entirely possible that maybe it does come from a true story. I mean, I wouldn't put it past somewhere along the line that somebody having done this. Okay, it's just I don't know. It's a good movie. It's a decent movie. I'd give it like a 6-ish out of 10. Just like I said, the only thing that kind of takes it away from me is how obvious they make out what the scenario is, and then so therefore it's not the mystery that draws you in. It's now supposed to be the plight of this young girl getting out of the situation. And to be honest with you, that wasn't enough for me. I watched it with my folks and they were engrossed. My mother didn't know what was going on, so she really enjoyed it. But for me, it was just like I knew it was happening, and it was a bit like, okay, cool. So this is what she's gonna do, and fine. You might follow the journey and see how it plays out. And yes, there's 1 or 2 extra twists along the way, but I wouldn't say it's anything that's unpredictable. Like you can really kind of gather a lot of what's going on along the way.
Yeah. It's easy to figure out. Yeah.
Yes. That. Now, with that in mind, and moving on from a thriller, and I know I mentioned this in one of the previous episodes, but The Crown Season 4. Oh my gosh, what an incredible series. Now, I know it's based on reality. And yes, it's very much a dramatization of what really has happened in the world in terms of the royal family. But man, is this a good show. From the writing, to the acting, to the music, it's just so well done. And we've thoroughly been enjoying it from the beginning. And the 4th season, in my opinion, I would say is one of the stronger ones. And purely because of Princess Diana. So she finally gets introduced in the 4th season. And I can honestly say, so I like the royals. I think they're awesome. I enjoy the monarchy. I wish we had more around the world. Granted, maybe a part of me does realize that they're a bit irrelevant today, but at the same time, I would rather take a royal family that is, for lack of a better term, true blue blood, versus the Kardashian kind of royalty. You know, I prefer that. It's kind of like old money versus new money. I'd rather take old money any day.
Yeah, always.
You know,
always.
So you know, from this perspective, it's really been fascinating to watch the show and see how this relationship between Diana and Charles unfolds. Now, you know, in addition to that, also Margaret Thatcher, played by Gillian Anderson, she is so incredible in the role. I honestly hope she gets a nomination of some kind, possibly a Golden Globe for her portrayal, because she really just is excellent. Now, just to further talk about the show just a little bit, because really it's just very good. Like, if you guys are not watching The Crown, you're doing yourself a disservice. Just watch from the beginning and just watch it. It's so good. So good. I think what makes it so great is, as I said before, I remember Diana as a child. So when she passed, I was young. I think I was 11, 12, when she actually died. And I remember at the time feeling genuinely sad about it, because obviously my mom knew a lot about Diana. You know, she had the magazines and she, you know, we watched them on TV, you know, things like that. And, you know, before her death, there was a lot went on in the 10 years before her death, you know, and a lot of stuff came out, you know, about her bulimia and the unhappy relationship that she had and so on and so forth. And, you know, her death, I don't want to say affected me, but I do remember crying about it as a young boy, just because, you know, my compassion was for what if I lost my mother? Because bear in mind, I'm a similar age to William. He's a little, actually to Harry, sorry. They're both older than me. But, you know, at the time I was like, what if I lost my mom? You know what I mean? It was that sort of a weird, you know, and I still remember watching the funeral on TV and it was genuinely sad. And I knew that a lot of, even my classmates all felt very similarly, you know? So, you know, she's always been there and been around. And I do remember years later when Charles eventually went with Horseface Camilla, who I don't know her at all. And yet I have this disdain for this woman. I know that sounds so illogical, but, you know, we always heard back in the day about how, you know, Charles wanted to be with Camilla, and then she was always on the scene. She was the third woman, you know, like if you read the books and things like that, she was always there. Now, The Crown does an absolutely superb job of weaving this narrative. Of course, as I mentioned before, it is a dramatization. So a lot of, they have some liberties have been taken to exactly how Camilla fits into it. But at the same time, there is truth to it all. And Diana's butler actually recently had an interview where he talks about how there is truth to the show. Yes, certain things have been embellished, but there is absolutely a thread of truth throughout it all, specifically the whole Diana Charles thing. And let me tell you, the actors do such a superb job that I actually really dislike Charles. I know that's a very strange thing to say because I don't know the man, and it's entirely possible that what happened, again, dramatized. But a part of me wants to believe it, you know. Also, if you go and you read the biographies and you read interviews by Princess Diana, you can actually see at least her point of view, because Charles has never been that candid about it, obviously, because he's part of the royal family, you know. It's just fascinating, and I implore anyone who even has a slight interest in the monarchy, or even really just good drama, watch The Crown. It is absolutely superb. You know, and it leads, I'm just wondering where they're going to go. Like, are they going to eventually show Princess Diana's death? Because that was intense in real life. And I don't know how they're going to portray it in the show. And I'm hoping with taste. Now, yeah?
They're probably just going to reenact all the documentaries we've already seen about it.
Well, if you look at the wedding was literally 2 minutes in the show. Yeah. They just spoke about the lead up to the wedding, and then there's one image where you see the actress walking in the dress, not even in the church. So I think maybe for Diana's death, they might not show the car crash in that at all. I'm really hoping they don't. There's no reason to, but rather maybe a phone call to the Queen receiving the news or something.
Okay,
you know. You know, now with that in mind, you know, I still believe it's an unsolved mystery. I still believe there's some more behind what happened to Diana than, you know, we're all led to believe. Yeah. And with that in mind, there's actually an excellent show on Netflix called Unsolved Mysteries.
Marianne loves it.
It's really good. Do you watch it?
No, I don't watch it.
Why?
I don't know. I don't watch TV that often. Marianne is always on the TV.
Well, look, you should watch it with her, because so generally for us and our family, our evenings are when we have mealtime. Instead of sitting around the table and talking, we watch TV. It's always been like that for as long as I can remember, like TV family, and so we generally, this is why I end up watching as much as I do. It's either TV shows or movies or whatever the case is, because that's our like downtime and at the end of the day. And we've, after finishing The Crown and watching some movies, and because as you know, I speak about them every week on GETL. We were looking for something the other day just to quickly fill the time, because it was really quite late in the day, and we were actually, we were spending time talking with each other versus watching. And we only had like an hour left to kill, before it's bedtime kind of thing. And we started watching Unsolved Mysteries, and maybe this is not the best thing to watch before bed, because they really delve into these absolutely incredible stories of what the hell happened to these people, and nobody really knows. There's no conclusive evidence. Now, no doubt there's probably thousands and thousands of cases that are unsolved, and they've obviously cherry-picked ones that would be entertaining. But yeah, it's a good show. It's a good time waster. It's not the kind of thing that you'll delve into all the time. But I mean, like, if you want to throw something up and watch it together and then discuss afterwards, it's great.
Yeah.
And then it leaves you thinking, like, what actually happened? What did these people do? Who could it be?
Well, that's the pull of the show, though. That's good.
Exactly it.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, I mentioned it as we started the episode, but like, some of our viewers pointed out that there was something in the background of last week's video. So in terms of an unsolved mystery, it's going to be solved this week. And that is that I was sent Mario Kart Live Home Circuit to review. And it's a very unusual game. It's Nintendo's, in my opinion, first foray into augmented reality. And the gist of it is that you get an actual kart, Mario Kart, to drive around. There's two versions. There's a Mario and a Luigi one. I received the Luigi one for review. And the game pairs with your Switch, and then using a built-in camera in the kart itself. The game then is superimposed over the camera image, and you end up with like an augmented situation whereby you can actually drive the kart around a racetrack that you create, because the game actually comes with cardboard gates. And it's good fun. It's genuinely good. Now, I did produce a review about the game, so we will link to it. So by all means, please go do and watch it. It does a far better job of explaining it than I'm doing it right now on the cusp.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I will say that as fun as it is and as unique and as awesome as it is, it does have a shelf life, just in the sense of, it has a great novelty factor, but when that novelty wears off, it's a little bit like, am I really going to continue playing this?
Yeah.
And that's purely because, it takes time to set up. You have to have space for it, and it's expensive. At $100 or 2,000 Rand for just a cart, which doesn't even include the game, which you have to download, by the way, for free off the store. It's a little bit of a niche package. Not everyone's going to buy it. But it's all right. Now, in terms of games, there were quite a few as well, especially from Edward's side. One of which is one of the biggest releases on PlayStation 5, Ed. So I'm very curious to know, what do you really think of it now that you've actually had some hands-on time with it?
Yeah, so, well, I played a lot of games this last 2 weeks or so with PlayStation 5, and Demon's Souls, I'd say, is the biggest of the bunch, which I believe you were alluding to. Mm-hmm. And essentially, it's a remake. There's no two ways about it. It's a remake of a 2009 game, but it's phenomenal.
Yes, remake, not remaster.
Yeah, it's a remake. It's super great though. It's you can see it's dated. All the mechanics is so far removed from what a Souls-like is today that it doesn't feel like a Souls-like almost. But you should remember that this is the first ever Souls-like game to exist. Which is basically For those who don't know, it's basically a Metroidvania and third-person action combined. But essentially, you go through stages and you learn new skills, and then you go back and do those stages better. That's Metroidvania. Yes. Or you unlock new abilities, or you find a potion which will help you in a previous level. Now,
so it's actually quite repetitive.
It's somewhat repetitive. It's not as repetitive as a Metroidvania. It's much more linear in that fashion, but it has the same elements. That I think that's why it got the differentiation, because it's not a Metroidvania, but it has those elements. Like if you want to see a modern day Metroidvania, you watch Control. That's Metroidvania through and through. Because you keep going back.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. And then every time you do something, a new part of the level opens up, so then you have to go back. Okay.
Yeah, lots of backtracking, essentially.
Yes.
Now, what sets Demon's Souls apart from one of my favorites, Dark Souls, is that it's super stage-based, which is weird, because every single other Souls-like, they're known for their interweaving paths and their complicated map design and level design.
Yes.
Demon's Souls has nothing of that. It's literally you begin at the beginning and you go through on basically a corridor to the end until you get the boss. There are no bonfires in between. There are not a lot of shortcuts in between. It's just basically you go from point A to point B where the boss is, and that's it.
Yes.
And it's quite, as someone who's never finished Demon's Souls before, this was quite something to go back on, something to experience the birth of the Souls-like. And I
actually finish it this time, hey?
Yes, and actually finish it this time. And I dug it. It's really, really good.
Okay, now, when I obviously was editing your review, and for those who want to read it, it will be linked below. You did mention that there was a change to the remake that actually, what I think adds to the experience, and it had to do with gear, something like that. Like you had to actually pay attention to potions or something.
Yes, I'm not sure if it was like this in the original, but it's again different to other Souls-likes, whereas
I see.
Your healing potions, they have weight to them. Every single item you hold has weight. And the heavier you carry, the slower you are dodging and rolling. And my first playthroughs with every Souls-like, including Bloodborne, is I tend to take the slowest, strongest hitting weapon and just take it slow throughout the entire game. Yeah. So obviously I did this time as well. So the heavy rolling didn't affect me as much. But it's weird to know that, I'm picking up Crescent Moongrass, which is the healing, the most common healing item in the game.
Yeah.
And it weighs 0.1 of whatever units it is. So if I carry 10 of those, I'm 1 point heavier than I would have been otherwise. Whereas in Dark Souls and Bloodborne and Sekiro, healing items don't weigh anything.
So it's that extra little bit of stress and strategy that you have to.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
As if Dark Souls games weren't. I mean, Souls-like games weren't difficult enough to begin with, right?
Yes, exactly. Now suddenly we're back with these almost dated dodging and rolling mechanics and parrying mechanics, and now I have to worry about being heavier than usual as well. It's quite something else. It's an experience.
I'm watching the enjoyment in your face, because I know that you thoroughly enjoy games like this. So
yes, I do.
And you're also very much a simulation person. So I think that, to me at least, and from what I gathered from your review and watching you talk about it now, it's actually incredible for you. You're thoroughly enjoying it.
It's an amazing game. I love Souls-like games, so yeah.
Okay, now the next one we know is going to be super quick. You're gonna thwip straight into it. Now we've obviously spoken about Miles Morales before for PlayStation 5, the exclusive. Very short, a little bit more like an expansion than an actual dedicated game, or at least that's how it came across. But with that, there was that whole upgrade debacle where, if you can buy Miles separately, or it'll come as part of the remaster. And of the original game. I mean, remastering a game that's not even 2 years old. So
yeah,
really,
it's a mess.
just give us your 2 cents on this remastered version of
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if you bought the deluxe edition of Miles Morales for PlayStation 5, you'll get the remastered version of the original Marvel Spider-Man as well. Now, the reason this is a quick review is literally because it's the same game. It's one and the same game. The only differences is that, that Peter has a new face and it has RTX now. That's it.
It's prettier, yeah. That's literally it. Oh, look, I mean, of course, we would be remiss for not mentioning that there is some DualSense support, but as Edward mentioned, even in Miles Morales, and even with Demon's Souls, and even, in my opinion, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, a lot of the launch titles don't make use of the DualSense in the way that we know it's capable of because of Astro's Playroom.
Yeah.
So, again, not to get back into that discussion, but it is a bit cause for concern, because it's fine to say the developer's supporting the controller, but in what way? Just adding vibration, is that considered, support for it? In this sense, in my opinion, and when I discussed it with Edward, I found that so Miles Morales is faster than the original Spider-Man. It feels faster. Miles moves quicker, and that's apparently because they've obviously leveraged the technology of the machine to make it a faster experience. And it's worth noting they don't seem to have changed the original in that way. He still feels the same speed.
Yeah,
but they did change Miles. Now, the weird thing about that is that, in my opinion, the adaptive triggers actually make it feel slow. So Miles moves really quickly, but because it takes so much effort to press the trigger, it feels slow. It's a disconnect, in my opinion.
It's weird. So basically, whenever you swing, especially referring to the remastered Spider-Man now, you tap the trigger, and it's soft in the beginning. So Peter shoots his web. But in order to keep swinging, you have to hold it. And there's this weird click to it. This weird, it doesn't let you push it all the way in without some force.
It's the of the thwip.
Yeah. It's basically whenever it sticks and you have to hold it. That has a little click to it, and I dislike that so much. It removes you from the game. Because
I agree.
You see this hero swinging from building to building and around and doing all these flips. And then suddenly you have to consciously trigger it now. You have to... It totally removes the immersion.
Yes.
Which I think is not a good thing, obviously. So I didn't like that. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. On the contrary, though, I don't think I mentioned it in my review, but for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, every time you shoot a gun, it feels like you're shooting a gun, which is, that's immersive again, because now every single gun, if you've ever shot one before, Hans and our viewers, it has resistance to it. It's heavy to... Most guns are very difficult to actually trigger. And that's how it feels with Call of Duty as well. Now, I actually reviewed it on the Xbox. I only played Warzone on the PlayStation. And I think Call of Duty, it does the DualSense very, very well, even if it's just Warzone.
You see, now that's a good thing, because in my testing, I've done something similar, whereby I also have used the the DualSense on Warzone, because it's a free download and you can play it, and etc.
Exactly.
So I will admit that has been implemented pretty well, and I really like that. Yeah.
Yes. But moving on from that DualSense, I also reviewed Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. I kind of misspoke earlier. I reviewed that on the Xbox, and I enjoyed it, but only because it was a quick 6 hours of campaign. And then I can't see myself ever going back to the game, because it feels hollow. It feels as if it's lacking in a way, and I can't explain it. it's just an extravagantic romp through the Cold War era, and that's it. And I enjoyed the game for what it was, but I'll never go back.
Oh. I mean, look, you did mention in your review that so the story was good, and that you do foresee the multiplayer being pretty big going forward, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, now that's something I actually want to just speak on a little bit more. So we were talking about the DualShock. I've actually found that I would turn it off for multiplayer because I find that it makes the triggers more difficult to press, and that my reactions are actually slower. I don't know if you felt this similar. Like don't get me wrong, I love that realism, but I actually would only prefer that for a campaign versus online play. That's my personal opinion.
I dig that. I didn't know you could turn it off, honestly. So
yeah, you can. There's actually a system setting, or you can. Well, it's mostly a system setting. You can actually change it.
Yeah, that's actually cool. See, because I went into Warzone, and then you get these shotguns, and you press the trigger, and it's so hard to shoot something. Or you get an automatic rifle. And it just
yeah, the controller is amazing, okay, and I love that implementation. But again, not for multiplayer, because as you're saying, it's genuinely a challenge.
Yeah, it's
click in
you
the
have
buttons,
to force yourself.
And
to shoot.
I found that it actually makes it far more difficult to.
Yes.
I mean, it's already difficult because you're playing online. Now you have to fight the controller as well. So
exactly.
I ended up just turning it off. But you know, anyway, at least they are supporting it, so I will give them credit to that degree.
Yes.
Okay, well, we've come to the end of our general reviews previews section, and now, our dear, wonderful listeners and watchers, we're going to move into something different. And instead of our normal content that we generally speak about, so no NSFW today, unfortunately. What we did is, over the last couple of weeks, is we reached out to all of you and we asked if you had any questions for us. If there was anything you'd like to know, anything. Everything was, I guess, on the cards. And thank you to our regulars. We see all of you. For having submitted some really cool questions to ask us, you know, to see, or rather, you know, well, I mean, that's exactly it. You've submitted questions for us to answer, and now we're gonna go through it. But what I mean by that is, it's always so nice to, you know, to have interaction with you guys. Now, I know that this is not live, so it's a bit difficult to, you know, communicate with us from that respect, but we see the comments and the DMs and the emails, and you know, it's really lovely to have that interaction. I know we've spoken about it many times before. So, you know, with that in mind, we're going to go through a lot of what y'all submitted, and there's some really, really good things here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through your questions, and then also we're going to go through like a little bit of a retrospective in terms of how GETL performed over this year. Because as part of Vamers, as you all know, we really do believe in, you know, open and honesty and transparency. Now, and please, it's by no means us trying to like brag or anything, but like we have some cool stats we'd love to share with all of you. You know, like. Well, we'll get to that. Rather than me saying anything, we'll rather get to it in a little bit. Yeah. So, Edward, if you'll, I think, how about we approach it with, we each, I mean, the questions are addressed to both of us. What I mean by that is, how about you take one, you say one out loud, we both answer it, I'll say one out loud, we both answer it. Okay?
Okay, so I'll start then. One of the first people who sent us questions is Ian.
Yes.
He's a long-time listener. He's a good friend of mine. And yeah, he has some interesting questions. So the first one is, and I quote, "Who, if anyone, would you like to have as a guest, star, or host of an episode of GETL? This could be an actor, an influencer, a streamer, tech company CEO, and so forth. There are no limits."
Wow, that's a genuinely good question.
Yeah.
That's a difficult question because
it is.
You know, GETL isn't, as those of you who listen and those of you who enjoy listening, it's not a singular genre of podcasts. In other words, it's not like it's just games or just tech or just entertainment. You know, we cover so much that really opens up what or who we can have on the show. Honestly speaking, though, like the one person that continuously comes to mind the whole time is Britney Spears. Purely because, and I mean, let's assume I'm taking your question, Ian, as a point of we are super successful and we have like a David Letterman style show and everybody wants on. You know, I would have her on to allow her to say whatever she needs or wants to say without her PR people being around to control her. So we've alluded to this numerous times on the show about how we believe something else is going on behind the scenes with Britney Spears, despite her numerous Instagrams being like, she's fine, I'm fine. You know, we all know that her bitch ass father is doing something behind the scenes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd be keen to know really what she would have to say about it. I mean, I don't know if that's what you guys wanted to hear. I mean, like, sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have an interest in speaking to Elon Musk. I would maybe like to speak to Phil Spencer from Xbox, or possibly even Thor, Chris Hemsworth. Gillian Anderson. Oh, I'd love to have a conversation with Gillian Anderson. I don't know what I'd say though.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with
but yeah. I think it would be Britney. I think there'd be a lot to unpack there, given GETL in context, because she's been part of the entertainment industries. You know, there'd be lifestyle things, and it would just be fun to find out. You know,
that's actually very interesting.
And yourself?
Yeah.
And you, Ed? Who would your...
I don't know. A bunch of personalities come to mind, like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's the coolest of dudes. Whenever I see him in interviews,
gosh, just throw me under the bus. I'm all like Britney, and you're like, excuse me, bitch, Neil deGrasse Tyson, scientist. Yeah.
No, but mainly just because of the way he conducts himself, not because he's smart. You know, he just looks like someone cool to hang with. And on that same note, also Sean Evans from Hot Ones. He is the most amazing. The host.
The chicken. Oh,
yes. Oh, the spicy
that's
chicken.
That's so cool. Yes.
But honestly, I wouldn't know what to say to any of those folks because...
No, man, the hot chickens one, we just eat hot chickens. I mean... Not we eat the hot chicken wings is what I mean. You know, we'd obviously just eat them and not be able to breathe on air. Look, I love spicy stuff. You know this. I have chili with like every meal. So I would be down. The thing is though, what would he ask of us?
That's the problem. And what would we ask him? It's, I don't know. The only reason I would choose those two is because I like the way they conduct their own shows.
I'm surprised you didn't say Ryan Creamer.
I didn't even think of Ryan Creamer. That's the problem.
Or somebody else.
Yeah, that didn't even occur to me. That's that's sad, actually. Gosh.
Okay. Well, the next question from Ian is, what skill, if any, from a different profession would you like to learn?
Cooking books from corrupt financial people. There we go. Because then cooking books. Because then I'd have all the money in the world.
No.
Okay, no, seriously.
Why on earth?
Seriously though, I don't know. Maybe more charismatic skills from people who talk in front of the stage.
Yours truly.
Yeah, like you. Because I can't talk in front of crowds, and within a year I'm gonna have to talk in front of a crowd, and I'm dreading it, you know. So
for those who will recall, Meneer Swart is getting married in a year from now.
yeah. So That's. I would like to learn more charismatic skills.
Well, you know what the great thing about that is? It's absolutely
What?
within reach. You can absolutely
Yeah.
do it. That's not
I just need
an impossible skill. That's actually pretty cool.
I just need the drive to actually learn that.
Well, I think your missus should be drive enough.
I guess so. What about you, Hans?
On my side, if I have to be genuinely honest, it's actually something I wanted to study, and that is medicine. In particular, reconstructive surgery. So if I could take any skill from a different profession, it would be, I guess it's two-part because they go hand in hand. It would be medical knowledge, number one, and number two, it would be to have the skills with my hands in conjunction with the knowledge I've accrued as a doctor to reconstruct people in ways that can either help them and assist them if they maybe suffer from something degenerative, or really from a superficial perspective, better noses, bigger boobs, tummy tucks.
So basically, you want to be the Doctor Strange of Beverly Hills 90210.
Well, actually, more the Dr. Christian from Nip Tuck. Yes, without the mommy and daddy issues, of course. Just there were two major things that I wanted to do when I finished school, and they were both. Well, not necessarily both medical related, but one was becoming a reconstructive plastic surgeon and the other one was a geneticist. I didn't geneticist because obviously dinosaurs, but the truth of that one is that being a geneticist is actually terribly boring. It's not as exciting as people make it out to be, because to get to that point where you can actually gene splice and so on and so forth takes years. Up until then, you're basically just spinning blood in a lab. And then plastic surgeon, I don't know. I just, I think I ended up going to whatever degree that I went into, which was communications, ended up enjoying it, and I never really thought twice about pursuing medicine thereafter. But it is always something that I would have, I think, really enjoyed, because, and not to speak about me now, but I mean, I am very much, and Edward knows this, very much a perfectionist. So I like symmetry, and if something is out of place or, in my opinion, not the way that it should look, I'll try and fix it. So that's why I've always thought that, like, I might make a good plastic surgeon, because if somebody came in with something, I would give them the honest opinion of whether they needed it or not, because I also wouldn't want to do it for the money. I would do it because I'm passionate about it, Anyway. And I try to, like, help people not to be their best selves, because everybody is beautiful in their own way and everybody is, perfect. But what I just mean is, especially if somebody comes in with like a disfigurement, whether it maybe they were burned or, something that could help them. Anyway. So that would be the skill. I hope that is the kind of answer that you were looking for. Yes, Edward, please, the next one. This one's a very, very good one. I'm actually quite looking forward to discussing this one.
Then this one came a little bit later from Ian, but it's great nonetheless. He said that now that we know what 100% game is like, in other words, a perfect game, 10 out of 10, our 95% games, do we still think they warrant their scores?
Okay, so I just want to preface this question with the fact that I don't believe I've given a game a score higher than 90%. And this is actually something Edward and I have discussed a few times, because I've often said to him, I think you score too highly. Now, this is no fault of Edward. This is more along the lines of the fact that he actually really dislikes a scoring system. And Edward is very much the kind of person who's like, it should either be, I like it, it's mediocre, or it's crap. It's just, that's it. There should just be three things of, cool, go for it. No, don't bother with it. Yes, it's awesome. And a part of me is sort of coming around to that, where it's either like, yes, play it, no, don't play it. But, sometimes some games really are just average, like mediocre. Like, they're not awful, so they're not like a 50 or 40, but they're not great. They're not like a 70 or an 80, they kind of just sit in the middle. Anyway. So, with that in mind, Edward's the only one who really has games that highly rated. So I am genuinely curious to see where he's coming from with this, because as Edward knows, I'm very strict. I have a very, very if I'm telling you something is good, you got to know it is. Like, there's no two ways about my recommendation about something.
Yeah, exactly.
So Ed, tell us now. So, and I agree with you on this one, right? So, The Last of Us 2 is the only title on Vamers to have ever received a perfect score. And Edward played it through to completion. I've played it through to completion. And it's one of the few times where I've looked at what he's given it and I'm like, 100%. I agree with you. Because although, sure, it's not a perfect game, because nothing is ever perfect, and that's not what the score is implying. The score is not a level of perfection. It is overall experience. That's what we gather. Now, I know, and that's a weird thing to put a score to, I suppose. You know, like, how do you put a score on an overall experience? But you can. You know, you go somewhere, you could be like, oh, that restaurant's a 5. No, that restaurant's a 7. You know, the McDonald's is a 1.
Like solid 6. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, so basically what Hans did, he collected all the games I gave 95 for. And now, going in order, that's Command & Conquer Remastered.
Yeah.
That's Sid Meier's Civilization 6, Gears Tactics, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, TT Isle of Man, Ride on the Edge 2, Formula 1 to 2020, Mortal Shell, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, when looking back at all these games and the fact that I gave them 95, I think I still believe those scores to be true.
Okay.
So starting from the top with Command & Conquer Remastered, it's classic Command & Conquer, and the way it was remastered is phenomenally done.
You see, so this very much goes into our talk of remasters and remakes, right?
Yes.
And how, just quickly throwing in my opinion, how in many respects the remakes, or I don't know if they were remasters, of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro were actually superior to the originals. So they actually ended up with even higher scores from what we, when we did them. So yes, I totally get the Command & Conquer thing, because it's such an incredible game, and the love that went into recreating it.
Yes, that's the thing.
Yes, I agree with you.
So so that 95 is all about the passion and dedication the team put into it. And then Sid Meier's Civilization 6, I believe this is the Xbox version, and I originally scored 95 because I've never played a 4X game on Xbox before, and it was amazing. It really is a good experience on the console. I don't know if I would still give it 95 today, since I've played it on PC in the interim.
Also, Anno 1800, hey, has come around since then, as well as Frostpunk. So, if I had to, like, from my own personal experience, if I had to weigh those up, I would maybe say Anno, Frostpunk, Civilization. That's my what my list would
honestly
be like.
I would agree, because as I said, I've played Sid Meier's Civ 6 on PC in the interim, and I think it's just much better. It's a much better experience on PC. So I'm not going to drop my score because it's a product of its time, but I would drop it to maybe 90 or 85. Yes. And I would replace it with something like Anno 1600.
Well, I mean,
which is a phenomenal game.
Okay, but now, understandably, as you mentioned, this was from a console perspective. So
yes.
So it's not really fair to take PC only titles, because like Anno 1800 is PC only.
Yes.
And then compare that to what's available on console. So, from that perspective, not to justify your score, but, if you are speaking from a console only perspective, it is one of the only games like that on console. So,
yes.
And the controls are very good. So, yeah, your score, I would imagine, would still be accurate. And then, well, interestingly enough, that then still applies to Gears Tactics.
See, Gears Tactics is a different kind of strategy game. So, Civ is grand strategy. Gears Tactics is tactical team-based strategy.
But I mean, from a console perspective, though,
Yes. So Gears Tactics I originally played on Windows because it wasn't available on console, and it just it basically took the XCOM formula and upped it tenfold. It did everything for XCOM
with a nice Gears of War skin.
Yes. And I still think it's a 95 today. Awesome. And I've only played a little bit on Xbox, and I still don't like the controls. I feel it doesn't translate well to.
Look, I've only ever played it on console, and I've got to say, I didn't think it was all bad. Yeah.
See, that's just the difference between us. I wouldn't play XCOM on console, even though it's available. I wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
And then Ori and the Will of the Wisps, phenomenal game. I cried when I finished the game.
Actually, this is one of the few games that wasn't nominated for, I think, Game of the Year at the recent Video Game Awards, and it's actually a travesty because it's so good.
Exactly. Fortunately, it is in the. I think it's in the ongoing support section, which I voted for.
But even so, it still seems like a bit of a slap in the face,
a letdown. Yes. Regardless, it's a phenomenal game, and I would recommend it to anyone. Obviously, play the first one first, the Blind Forest, and then go to Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is the second one. And I stay by my score on that one.
Okay.
And then moving on to TT Isle of Man, Right on the Edge. Now, I gave this a 95 mainly because it surprised me. It was shockingly good. I did not think I would enjoy it at all. It's a motorcycle simulator, but it looks phenomenal. They recreated Isle of Man pretty much
expertly,
to the T if you go watch all the videos. And it's just great. I love the simulation that goes into it, and that's why I still think that's a 95.
Okay, awesome. Now look, of the last three, would you change anything before going into them in detail? Just looking at them right now.
No.
Now,
would I change the score?
Yeah.
You mean?
Okay.
No.
Now,
no,
I just want a quick mention to AC Valhalla. So, Edward and I eventually made a decision to only have rounded numbers for our review scores, as in 90, 95, 85, 80, 75, 70, that kind of thing. Now, before we eventually did that, Assassin's Creed Odyssey was reviewed and got a 93. We used to have a methodology whereby we would break down different pointers and have to score each section separately and then add up the scores, and it came to a tally. We don't really do that anymore now. We just go with it. What do you feel? But it has to be a rounded number. And so the funny thing is Odyssey would have also been here. Or maybe even in retrospect, Valhalla might have been just slightly less than Odyssey. Because in your opinion, you have mentioned before that Odyssey is in your opinion, still a better game than Valhalla, despite how good Valhalla is.
Yes. Personally, I am just mega biased towards Odyssey. I love the myth, I love the history.
Which is very good to know, because it's actually a new review title that we are not allowed to speak about. And I guess y'all only hear about it in the new year, which also deals with this kind of mythos. And I really hope you're going to enjoy it, Edward.
Okay.
We literally are not allowed to say anything.
So, yeah, obviously I'm a bit biased towards Odyssey, and I would, if I were to review it today, it would probably get 95 as well. But I gave Valhalla 95 mainly because I couldn't give it anything else. No, look,
you see, again, we're talking about the experience, and the overall experience, even if slightly less than Odyssey, is still exceptional.
Yes, it's amazing.
I mean, you can't discount. I mean, you can't compare Greek mythology with Norse mythology. They're so different. It's comparatively similar to a certain degree, but also very different. So, in other words, what we're trying to get at here is Edward, he's trying his best not to let his preference for Greek mythology, downgrade what is actually a very good game in Valhalla.
Exactly. The reason why I think Valhalla is so good is because it feels like a amalgamation of all the previous Assassin's Creeds. All the greats have come into this one, and it's basically all the facets of all of those. Now, if you go, I think, a single episode or two back, you'll know exactly why I say that.
Yes.
And yeah, so Valhalla stays. Mortal Shell as well.
Okay.
Mortal Shell does what Gears Tactics did for XCOM. It does for the Dark Souls. It basically takes the Souls-like genre and just ups everything. It raises the bar. And then Formula 1 2020 is just phenomenal. I love Formula 1. 2020 adds amazing new simulation bits and bobs. And it also has a new campaign mode. I forgot the name now. It's been a while since I played it, but it's a brand new campaign mode, which is different from the normal campaign, which also is just nice to see in a racing game.
Basically, to really answer the question overall, no, it wouldn't change Edward's opinion on things. And as we've discussed, we're both quite different. I am a very tough scorer. So I don't have, I just, at least not in recent memory, a title over 90 just yet. One day when that happens, you'll know on GETL.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll be the first to know.
Now, moving on, we have some questions from Crystal. So thank you, Crystal. I see that unlike Ian's questions, some of these are directed specifically at me.
Okay, yes.
Interesting.
Now, I think the reason for that is mainly because growing up in my household, basically every night we would eat, then we would watch a show, and then my dad and I and the entire family would just start debating on random stuff. Now, we've spoken about all kinds of philosophical stuff before, such as the pyramids and the first visitors to Earth and all that bunch. Now, my sister's heard mine numerous times throughout the decades. But for you, Hans, who built the pyramids?
Aliens. Duh.
There we go. Thank you. That's what I've been saying all the time.
What is her... Look, I want to also mention, okay, I have had the privilege of going to Egypt. I have seen the pyramids in real life, and I've actually gone into them as well. There's I forget which one, because this was years ago. This was like, 15, 20 years ago. Okay, maybe not that long. I'm not that old. But I was able to go into one of the pyramids, and it's an incredible experience because you go all the way up to one of the tombs. And having seen it, having been there, and having seen the craftsmanship, the way these huge granite blocks are so close together, you can't even, like, some of them are so close, you can't even put like a fingernail in between the two pieces. It's just so precise that I find it very difficult to believe that even, and also, of course, I've done a lot of reading, it cannot be replicated. So tell me how civilizations from 2,000 years ago could build something we don't even have the tech available today to do? And you mean to tell me that they chiseled those blocks to that kind of degree that is Perfection. So perfect you that even our laser pointers today can't replicate? Yeah. I doubt.
Exactly. Much doubt. So I think there was extraterrestrial influence in that.
Let's be devil's advocate, right? Let's say, or we throw the extraterrestrial thing out the window. Mm-hmm. Another, hypothesis to go with is that we do have civilizations that have come and gone. And by that I mean it's entirely possible that, let's say, Atlantis, which has been reported in a variety of texts around the world and, made mostly famous by one of the philosophers, I forget his name, whereby that could have been a highly advanced civilization, which through error, met their demise. And in so doing, we've lost all the technology that made them as great as they were. And, if you look at where we are now, 2,000 years later, we're on a very similar trajectory where we have a lot of amazing technology in that now. But if we were to do something calamitous to the planet, whereby we end up destroying everything we know and the human race gets mostly destroyed, and then we have to rebuild ourselves up, just like in the TV show C on Apple TV, it's entirely possible that, we would also forget everything and have to start from scratch.
Yeah. It could very well be. Maybe the Isu came and built the pyramids, the Mayan pyramids and the
the
Egyptian
easy
pyramids
from Assassin's Creed. That would be cool.
From Assassin's Creed, yeah.
Actually, that was one of my most disappointing aspects of Origins, is that they never really fleshed that out. Such a great game, but then they never did that cool like alien element to it, which I love that they fixed that for Odyssey. And you're further in the game than I am in Valhalla, and you say they've done a great job on that as well. Anyway, okay, cool. So then the next question is left or right brain. Why do I have to pick a side?
I don't know.
Okay, so my understanding of this, right, is left brain is creative, right brain is analytic.
That's what I believe, yeah.
Is this a question of which do I prefer, or which am I?
I think it's which you are, which of the sides you are.
I don't know. Like, I would like to think I'm a healthy mix of the two. So I might not paint or draw, but I thoroughly enjoy producing video, and you'd have to be creative to an extent to do that. Plus, I'm pretty good at graphic designing, even though I never really did it formally in terms of education. So that would then make me left brain. But then, from a right brain perspective, I like things.
You're smart.
No, I mean, I like things to be accurate. I have a high attention to detail, and Edward has seen the reports that I put together for our campaigns and stuff, and there's a lot of math that goes into them sometimes.
Yeah, so that kind of needs to be. So
I would say a nice mix of the two, but maybe a little bit more left. I would imagine a little bit more creative and fun. Not that right brain aren't fun. I'm just saying, I don't know. It's a bit of a challenging question to answer. And now is this one the next one for both of us? I hope. Okay.
Yes, it's for both. Yeah. Okay, so Crystal asks, what is the widely accepted South African word for go away?
Futsak.
It is futsak.
What else would it be?
You don't need to be Afrikaans to know what futsak means in South Africa. It's just such a unique term. So, yeah.
Okay. I see next up we have two lovely questions from Diona. So the first one is, what is the weirdest thing you have seen in someone else's home? And then she actually gives an example. And she says, when she was at residence in Australia, the weirdest thing she saw was a life-size cutout of the dog of a friend of hers. Which I actually think is amazing.
Yeah, that's
like
cute.
like where can you even go to get a life-size cutout made of your pets? That's quite cool.
Exactly.
Edward, you answer this one first.
See, I can't think of anything because I have normal friends.
Weirdest thing you've seen in someone else's home?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh no. I don't know. No, I don't think I want to say that.
Well, okay. So when I was younger, we went to visit mini family, which I don't even talk to anymore. And I remember walking into their home. I don't remember if it was my dad's side or my mom's side, but it was an uncle or an aunt. I walked in, and right as you walk in, there was a naked portrait on the wall.
Of who?
I don't know. Just a person.
Hopefully not of them.
Hopefully, I can't remember. If it was, I would have, I guess. Yeah. And that might be the most strangest thing I've ever seen as a child.
I'm not going to... I don't think... Okay, so the only one that really comes to mind, and I would not call this weird. I would actually call it beautiful and unique. So I'm going to rather say this is one of the coolest things I've seen in a very long time. And that is actually weird enough because what you've just told me has prompted me. Very good friend of mine actually has very tasteful nudes. But you can't see it. You can't see the nudity, but it's a beautiful like it's her from the back because her husband had it commissioned for them both, and it hangs above their bed. It's the most beautiful and tasteful painted artwork of her silhouette.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So I mean,
That's
yeah.
cool.
So it's not exactly answering the question. I've just changed it a bit. I think like something beautiful and unique versus something weird because I don't know. Like Edward said, my friends are pretty are pretty not basic, but pretty normal. So like, there's nothing weird. Like, okay, hold on. One of my cousins has a stripper pole in their house. Does that count? I mean,
no.
Okay, well, yeah. So I mean, exactly. That's not weird. See, this is the thing. We on GETL, we're so open minded. Like, really, what is weird?
Yeah, what is weird?
Take the next question.
It's honestly a difficult question. And then Dion asked, if you were transported 400 years into the past with no clothes or anything else, how would you prove that you were from the future without getting burned to a stake?
No, I'd be dead. I'd be burnt at the stake.
So would I. I mean,
I'd literally.
How do you explain that?
You can't. You can't without coming across as being like a witch or something. Because just bear in mind, we've also been vaccinated. So if you had to walk through like smallpox or something and survive, people would think that you're like demon possessed.
You're the second coming.
Exactly. Or rather, let's assume there's at a moment's notice, you don't even have a chance to decide that you're being transported back. So what? I'm going to be thrown back in my Under Armour clothing and Apple Watch and iPhone. I mean, just at a moment's look with my long hair, I'm going to be persecuted immediately without even.
No, but you're going to be thrown back without those.
Remember? Oh, I see. Oh,
naked,
naked like Terminator. Oh, well, I'd probably still be persecuted because I manscape. So they'd probably be like, "What is this bitch without any pubes?"
Yeah, what is this hairless one?
Yeah, we look at this ginormous hairless baby.
All his hair.
Okay, hold on. Let's answer this properly. Because how would you prove that you were from the future without getting burned to a stake? The problem with that is that I don't know enough about my history to even pretend to be like a seer to the king.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the biggest issue,
if I knew history really well, I could probably be like, oh, well, King Caesar, this is going to happen. I am your seer. I get divine intervention from the gods, But I don't know anything about that. Maybe if you threw me back 100 years. No, not even, actually 100 years back would be what? We're in 2020, so it would be 1920. That I can work with. Because then I would I would be able to talk about things that are coming, because I know a little bit more about the 90s than I do about the 1600s or whatever it is. I don't know, it would be difficult.
Yeah,
what would you say, Edward? I'm just speaking here, like, what would you do? How would you prove it?
See, I was going to say 400 years, that's the 1600s, correct? 1700s.
Well, 1700s.
So that's just
roughly.
That's around the time that Jan van Riebeeck came to South Africa. So let's say if I were transported back in time at this very exact spot, I would go make friends with Shaka Zulu and those
You
guys,
wouldn't be able to, they'd kill you.
Them, the white men are coming. The white men are coming and they're going to take your land. And I'd be the next overseer for the tribes.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I mean, but now you're assuming you can communicate. Because bear in mind, even the Afrikaans today would not be the same as the Dutch that arrives. That's first of all. And then secondly,
I do the cave paintings.
Personally speaking, I think that they'd be super intrigued with you because you'd be totally different to anything they've ever seen before.
Yeah.
If you were transported into Africa as this...
all those black slaves, that would never happen. This would be an amazing new Afro country which thrives on
amazing
equality.
You'd basically have you'd basically create Ed Kanda.
Ed Kanda, yeah.
I love it.
And yeah, I can't think of anything else. So
okay, fair enough. I see the next two questions are from your Liffy, Marianne.
Yeah. Marianne's first question is, what was your Vamers highlight so far this year?
Wow. Okay, so 2020 has thrown a variety of curveballs at us. But I would say that for us, it was reaching over 400,000 hits a month. That's a really big one for us. And then also being considered as worthy of reviewing content by Sony and Microsoft. We're very, very privileged. We're very, very grateful for those opportunities. And it's really nice to have the acknowledgement that what we're doing is working.
Yeah,
that would be my
that's
two.
the thing. It's I totally think the same, because these last few months have been amazing for Vamers, and it's because of our new brand deals with Logitech and our amazing partnerships with Xbox and Sony, and these last few months especially have been very good for Vamers, and exactly. So yeah.
Yes. Look, it's. I would say it's nice that there's some form of recognition now. You know, we've been doing this for a very long time. It's been a lot of hard work, and it's nice that people are acknowledging it. That's really it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's finally being seen.
The second question is: do you have any New Year's resolutions? If so, what are they? Otherwise, are you more of a go with the flow kind of person? I have no resolutions.
Yep.
And I would say that for the most part, I'd like to think I am go with the flow, just as long as you give me enough time to get ready.
Well, not even that's enough time for you, honestly. Yeah, the thing is...
And you, Ed?
I don't do the whole pre-planning thing at all. I just take every day as it comes. And so far, it's been working very well for me. I used to stress a lot about everything. And then one day in matric, I just said, F it. I'm not going to worry anymore. And since then, I've been a much happier person. So I would say I'm much more go with the flow than anything else. Even more so than you, I would say.
Oh, no.
So,
I would disagree. I would say that you're rather inflexible, to be perfectly honest with you.
Is it?
Yes. You're the kind of person that needs to know something in advance, otherwise it doesn't happen. Now, I understand. Go with the flow is somebody contacting you the same day or even an hour before and being like, hey, let's do this. With you, it's like, no, sorry, I can't. I got this. No, sorry, I can't. I got that.
See, but that's still going with the flow. That's just rejecting people left, right, and center.
No, it's not.
See, if I make plans ahead,
I'll Edward, you're misunderstanding the point of go with the flow.
No. Either way, I don't do the pre-planning thing. I think
you
sucks.
Always pre-plan. What are you talking about?
I'm not though.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the last one for us.
Is there anything you would have done differently this year?
Yes, one thing. I would have gotten my back seen to the moment I started having pain. Yes. That would be the one thing that in retrospect, I would have gone to go and seen to it straight away instead of sucking it up and being like, no, it's nothing, it'll get better, because it really got so much worse. Yes, that would be it. Edward?
Well, I guess it's the same thing.
Yeah, you better. Damn right.
The thing is, I don't believe in regrets. I believe in learning. So I never look back and say, oh, I would have done that differently.
Yes.
I don't do that at all. I think it's a very negative thing to do. Yes. And usually when I do that, it brings me bad thoughts, which I struggle to come out
I'm just
from.
answering the question. It's not that I have regrets about not fixing my back early.
That's fair. I'm just saying, because of my whole stance on regrets, I don't think back.
Okay.
So I guess.
So y'all bitches, when you get cut out, you be cut out.
Yeah, literally. That's how it works with me. In going with the answer though, yes. Retrospectively, I would have tended to my jaw much earlier than I did.
And I will attest to how many times I've brought it up and told Edward.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been told
like a broken record.
But otherwise, no. There's nothing I would have changed.
Yeah, right? I mean, look, honestly speaking, I very much abide to what you say as well. I very, very seldom will look back and think about things that have happened, because I'm also a firm believer in whatever happens for a reason. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, like just to put it into perspective, like this whole thing with my back or whatever, I do believe that it inevitably led me towards the right doctor, which I didn't have before. And in addition to that, it's made me have this fantastic chair that I'm sitting in right now. So everything happens for a reason.
See, there you go. Now you have phenomenal ergo bat chairs to fix it for you.
Okay, we have a few more questions. There's actually more than what's listed here, Edwin, just so you know. But I see that next up we have some questions from Tegan from Australia.
So
I think it's our only
so the first
international listener.
Our only
no. I mean,
listener,
who sent in questions? Not the only one who listens from abroad. I just mean, the only one who sent in questions.
Yeah. So his first question is: Do you think you would look at making merch for GETL?
Yes, absolutely. There is no two questions about it. We already have some things in mind. I don't know if I want to mention it right now. I think we'll wait. I think 2021 will be the year of GETL merch. So definitely stay tuned to that. So the answer is yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's very exciting. I mean, we do want to do it. We've actually spoken about it. So yes. Okay. This is very similar to Diona's question actually. What is the weirdest thing you have walked in on someone? Oh, what is the weirdest thing you have? Okay, that's basically the question. It's not. What is the weirdest thing you've seen when you've walked in on someone? Let's go with that.
Walking into someone.
I know what mine is. No, I wouldn't call it weird, but anyway, Edwin, take it away.
I haven't. Oh. I've been fortunate enough not to walk into anyone doing anything weird. And
I mean, again, what is considered weird? I don't know. I think maybe if I really have to bring it up, it was at our holiday home, and my cousin was showering, but I didn't know at the time he wasn't showering alone. And so I just barged in because, family, you don't think twice about it. I just barged in and I was like, obviously I had to ask a question or something. And well, he wasn't alone in the shower and they were having a great time.
And you were like,
needless to say, I slowly backed out and closed the door and said, don't worry, I'll speak to you later.
Gosh.
So there we go. If you want to, I wouldn't consider that weird or funny or odd. I mean, that's just normal. But it was funny at the time. I mean, I did laugh about it, and it was years ago. I mean, probably 15 years ago. So, I mean, maybe at the time because I was quite young, it was quite like, oh.
Like, ooh.
Okay, next. Take the next question, Ed.
Okay, so what does Edward's missus think when she sees him researching the NSFW content? I don't know.
She doesn't know, that's why.
Honestly. Yeah, I don't know. She's never around whenever I work, and she already knows I have a weird search history, because I tend to research the weirdest stuff anyway. So I think she'd be okay with it regardless.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she's gone into my Safari before and seen just straight up stuff I've been researching for science. And she's been cool with it.
Okay,
so.
Well, I mean, I'd imagine so. I mean, it shouldn't be a secret in any case,
Exactly.
Okay. Next question. Where do you see GETL in the future?
In a multi-million-dollar deal on Spotify. That's it.
Okay.
That's all I have.
No, not Spotify. We don't like Spotify. I'd rather be.
We don't like
Apple
Spotify,
Music,
but if they're going to give me billions,
you know what? I'll even take Jeff Bezos' money. Okay, over Spotify.
Well, of course, I take any money. No, I just think that if you're successful enough to be approached with an exclusivity deal for millions, I think you've made it big.
I think you made it, yeah. So
particularly,
it's a difficult question to say where do we see it, and I think Edward sort of hit the nail on the head. We hope to see it become more successful. We are still very small at the moment. Yes, we've reached 1,000 downloads, which we'll speak about in just a second. But in terms of overall listeners and subscribers, of course, it could always be better. But we're enjoying it, so wherever it goes, we'll be happy.
Yeah.
Ed, last one.
Who would review all the NSFW items that are planning to be bought?
Oh, we've actually spoken about this before.
Yeah.
We would share them.
Of course. Duh.
No, but like for real though. I mean, we're not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just it's a device or an item. So we most likely would both try it out. Maybe even together. I don't know.
As long y'all don't know what's going on in the studio, okay? No, the thing is, as long as it's sanitized and cleaned properly,
exactly. It's not a. I mean, it's kind of like it's like saying to somebody, "Oh, I'm not going to drink out of that mug because that somebody's drank out of that mug, even though it's gone through the dishwasher." Like,
I don't want your cooties.
But you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a different story if like we get what is that thing called? The air something? What was it called again? The air wave, arc wave.
The arc wave.
It's a bit different if like I use the arc wave and leave it soiled and then give it to it. I mean, that's just gross, and we're not that kind of people. Okay, obviously
that's giving.
No, it's gross. It's gross. So what I'm saying is, obviously, it's just an item, much in the same way.
Yeah.
How. You know, it's different to like a toothbrush because like I don't know, for some reason that's coming to mind. Like I wouldn't share my toothbrush, but that's somehow different because you can't really clean the bristles properly afterwards. You know.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, we'd share most likely. And then see the reason why we do that is because we like to be comprehensive on GETL. You got to have both opinions.
It's pretty much like how I do a mouse, and then Hans gets the mouse for video.
Yes, exactly. We have one written, one video.
It would be exactly the same for the stainless steel dildo and Gwyneth Paltrow candle.
But y'all not be getting videos of this. Okay.
Unless you join my OnlyFans for $55.
Yeah, OnlyFans /Hans Haupt. No. We have one more question, and this also comes from Vicard. And he basically just says, what is your favorite episode and celebrity crush? That is actually a very, very tough one. There is a particular episode, and right now, for the life of me, it's evading my mind that I actually have had, and it's the one that I always recommend to people when they consider listening to GETL for the first time. Ed, take it away. I'm going to look it up quickly. So give us your answer.
Okay, so my favorite episode is one that YouTube always recommends to me for some reason. Every single time I go to my homepage on YouTube, it's there waiting for me. And that is... Oh, I forgot the episode number, but that's the bath one. Would you watch us bath in milk?
Oh, that was a good one. That really was a good one.
That's my favorite one because I love that thumbnail, man. It's an amazing thumbnail. Otherwise, sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Your favorite celebrity.
My favorite celebrity.
Celebrity crush. Celebrity crush. So not just favorite celebrity, but celebrity crush.
George Clooney.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Why?
Because I think it's hot. Honestly, it's easy to say someone like Scarlett Johansson, who I think is beautiful.
Yes.
But a proper crush, I've always had a celebrity crush on George Clooney. Always have and always will.
Okay.
And I just think he's hot.
Fair
like
enough.
that.
Okay, now I've just looked up a few quickly. I can't recall the episode exactly, but I do remember it was the first 15, so it was very early on. I've kind of tried to coincide the dates here, and it kind of seems like roughly episode 11, which was about Arpat's Netflix loving Pokemon Legend of Bull Paxton. Final Fantasy VII porn. Look, there have been so many really, really good ones, but I think one of the ones that really was big for us was our Rona Sutra episode. That's it. That's the one. Oh my gosh, how funny!
That's the one.
That's the bath milk one.
Getting recommended to me. Yeah, because it has the most phenomenal image, and it was a good episode as well. We laughed all the way through.
Now to answer the second part of the question, I don't know. It used to be Britney for a long time. But I think that's kind of gone to a mix between Hemsworth, Chris, and Chris Pratt. I kind of... Oh, no. Thingy. No, I lie. Superman. Cavill, yes. That dude...
Yeah, he's a
but the thing is, I mean, it's more along the lines of, I suppose maybe I'm approaching it from a different one. So it's not really like a crush, like I want to sleep with them kind of thing. It's more like, we could be friends. You know? Like, because if you look at his Instagram and that, like, the things that he's into, and he's actually quite a bit of a geek. So I'm like, that's so cool, because it's like the age difference is not that big. We could be like best buds, and we could play games on the weekends, and be best man at his wedding, best man at my wedding.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that was great. Thanks, Vicard. That was actually a pretty good. Thank you all. Thank you, Vicard, Crystal, Diona, Marianne, and Ian for sending in some really incredible questions for us to answer. And we hope that you enjoyed this segment, because I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it took a nice, good amount of time as well. Hey?
Yeah, good hour.
Now, before we close off, because this episode is getting nice and long, but it is our final one, so what the heck? We just want to give you a bit of a retrospective. So, leading on from Vicard's question of which was one of my favorite episodes, we just want to give you some overview of what GETL has been like over 2020. For a start, we've had over 1,300 views on YouTube, which is really great because we didn't have a YouTube from the beginning. We actually only picked it up, I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago. Before that, we only did audio. That basically means we have over 1,300 views and over 70 hours listened. So thank you. In terms of our top videos on YouTube, it's really funny, Edward, because guess which video is number 1?
Rona Sutra.
Yes. The one with the would you bath in milk or whatever that weird episode was, followed by episode 15 with Killer Coffee and When People Zol. And then after that, it's Attractiveness Bias, which is episode 26. Then weirdly enough, episode 38 is our number 4 top episode of the year, which is the one about Mario porn. And then that was followed by Vagina Coffee, episode 19. So it's been good. Those are our top 5 episodes on YouTube for 2020. In terms of the show itself, we have over 600 listeners, so thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all with us, and we thoroughly love it. More of you need to be writing in and communicating with us, but either way, to the regulars who do, thank you so much. I hope some of you find this interesting as well. It turns out that our biggest platform of listeners is actually Apple Podcasts, followed by Spotify, then a program called Overcast, then Google Podcasts. And then for y'all poor Android peasants out there, somebody's using Android Download Manager. I mean, thank you, nonetheless. And then, of course, in terms of devices, most popular is phone, followed by smartwatch. And I actually love that. I love the fact that people are downloading things to listen to on their watches, and that's how they're listening. I think that's absolutely incredible. I love the future, Country-wise, our top 4 countries are obviously South Africa, followed by United States, then Australia, and then the Kingdom of Spain. So I think that's really cool. Whomever is listening from Spain, thank you. That's awesome. And then Great Britain thereafter. In terms of, again, episodes that are most popular from a listening perspective, so not from YouTube now, our top 5 are episode 26, which has to do with attractiveness bias. That was honestly a great episode. Followed by episode 15, which is Killer Coffee and When People Zol. Then episode 18, which is Sex Allergies and Yonic Imagery. Followed by, and I absolutely love this, our 4th most popular episode ever is episode 1. So thank you.
Baby girl.
Yeah, thank you for those of you who actually start from scratch and then listen through. It's absolutely incredible. I love the fact that episode is one of our most listened to. And then followed by our 5th most listened to episode, which is episode 8, and that's Patient AB and the Binary Heroes from Marvel.
Episode 6.
Is it episode 6? Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. You are right. Episode 6. That's just awesome. That's it. So, I mean, thank you so much for a wonderful year of support. The last 42 episodes have been fantastic. Actually, it's 43 if you count the bonus one. We've loved every moment of it. Edward and I will be taking a break from now through to either end of January or early February. We're not sure, but stay tuned to our socials, or if you are subscribed on YouTube, you'll get a notification when the new episode comes up, or if you are subscribed on your favorite podcast platform, it will pop up. But with that said, we do wish you all, our listeners and watchers, a fantastic Christmas and holiday season. May you all have a blessed time. May you all be safe. And may we all go into 2021 with a positive attitude. And putting
with big booty by your side.
And put aside whatever 2020 threw at us.
Oh my gosh, yeah, please. Let's not do that again.
So with that in mind, thank you so much, everybody. It's been a wonderful year. We will see you all for season 2 in early 2021. So with that in mind, thank you so much, and bye everyone. Cheers.
Bye-bye.